What makes the physiques of the golden era so special? In my last video I analyzed what truly defines this iconic look and came to a clear conclusion. Not all muscle groups are equally important. Some may play a bigger role than you might think, while others are surprisingly less important. So here's a quick overview of the muscle importance in order so you know how to actually create this golden era look by emphasizing some muscle groups while de-emphasizing another. The arms and chest are the absolute highest priority, followed by the back. The outer extremities, like the forearms and calves, play a massive role to the golden era look, while surprisingly, the shoulders and legs are among the least important muscle groups. This is almost the complete opposite of today's bodybuilding standards, which is the reason why the golden era physique is so unique. But I would highly recommend you to watch my last video, if you haven't already, to understand the context and to get the bigger picture of why you should absolutely emphasize some muscle groups while de-emphasizing some other muscle groups if you want to truly create that classic golden era physique. In today's video I'll walk you through my own training on how I train to achieve that golden era look myself. This won't be a step-by-step guide. I will mainly talk about the principles that I apply to my own training, why do I do the shit that I do, but I will also show you how you can apply this to yourself, and I'll show you modifications you can do to my program so it can suit your specific needs best. So that you and me can bring the golden era back, baby. Let's fucking go! The split that I use to achieve maximum muscle growth, to achieve that golden era look as a natural lifter, hopefully, is the full body every other day split. But why would you only train 3 or even 4 times per week if you want to grow as maximally as possible? Wouldn't you have to train 6 times a week? No. The advantages of the full body split is that it has the highest frequency while simultaneously having the most rest days, which is perfect for maximum quality stimulus throughout the week, which is shown to have the greatest hypertrophic benefit, while also reducing muscle damage and optimizing for recovery. Who do you think will grow more within a year? By looking at the number of workouts that you have hit a specific muscle group within a week. The person who's trained 1 time per week, 2 times, or 3 times. You can actually see it in the fucking numbers. The person who's trained a muscle more often throughout the week with higher quality sets will grow more. It's as simple as that. Again, as I said in the intro, you don't have to exactly copy what I do to achieve this golden era look yourself. You simply have to modify the program that I will show you to your specific needs, which I will show at the end of the video. The reason why I try to train as optimally as possible instead of just following what the golden era greats did themselves is simply because I'm a natural lifter, you for 99% are too, and the golden era legends sadly were on steroids. So we as natural lifters have to leverage everything that we have in our hands to actually achieve maximum muscle growth, as creating the golden era proportions themselves is easy. You just have to focus some muscle groups before another, but actually achieving maximum muscle growth is fucking hard as a natural lifter. So you sadly have to optimize every single fucking factor and not just train ooga booga with barbells, training 6 times per week with an Arnold split. I assure you, I've been there and you will not achieve a golden era physique that way. To prioritize a muscle, you have to put that muscle at the very start of the session to give it the best possible stimulus, which I'm doing here with this upper chest fly, as the chest is my main priority right now to create that golden era Arnold Schwarzenegger look, and especially that upper portion, as we know that it's harder to develop than the mid or lower chest. So let's go into the actual exercise. This upper chest fly is the freaking most goated upper chest exercise there exists. So when you're prioritizing muscle, you want to isolate that muscle function as best as possibly. It wouldn't make any sense to do an incline press if I want to actually grow my chest as maximally as possibly, as the chest is the only muscle working in a fly motion, while on the press, the shoulders and triceps are also involved in the movement, which means that the actual chest has less muscle recruitment due to the other muscle groups taking over some of that recruitment. But that is not the only reason why this upper chest fly is the best exercise for the upper chest. It's because with this exercise I'm actually performing the muscle function of the upper chest, which is primarily shoulder flexion. You always see these dudes doing an incline bench or an incline fly with a completely wide arm path, which completely negates the actual purpose of the incline bench. As if you want to actually hit the upper chest as maximally as possible, you want to have a lot of shoulder flexion, like in a front raise motion, which I'm doing right here, to actually bias it, as when you have that wide arm path, you're essentially turning that incline press or incline fly into a mid-chest exercise. And that is exactly what I'm doing right here with this pure horizontal adduction challenge via this pec deck machine. As I said, for the upper chest, you want to have that low to high flying motion, while for the mid chest, you want to have a completely transverse plane challenge. I don't know about you, but a lot of people are completely neglecting their mid or lower chest and are overemphasizing the upper chest. They think that their chest sucks because their upper chest sucks, but the actual problem is that their whole chest sucks, which means that the mid or lower chests are actually more important than the upper chest, as they simply have a greater surface area to fill out, which honestly makes the upper chest extremely overrated. So don't sleep on your fucking mid-chest exercises. As you've noticed, I've done 2 chest exercises and none of them were a bench press. Of course, I will not grow my chest as maximally as possible if I do not do a bench press. That is absolute bullshit. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to do what I do by doing 2 flies and no presses. The sole reason why I do this is because my chest is a weakness while my triceps are a strong point, which means I want to take out my triceps to only emphasize my chest, and also because I'm trying to build that golden physique, I want to prioritize my chest and triceps at the same time. And I cannot do that on a full body high frequency split if I do 2 presses and a bunch of tricep exercises, as that would accumulate too much fatigue for my triceps. So only performing flies and no presses would be much better if you want to prioritize your arms at the same time, as you would have more room for actual focused triceps work, instead of accumulating unnecessary volume for the triceps passively via presses. Coming to my next priority, which are extremely lacking in my opinion in my physique, which are the lats, especially that lower portion, which I'll be hitting with a frontal plane pull, a wide grip pull-up. Before you come at me saying that you cannot bias one region of the lats than the other, that does not make any sense, bro. The specific regions of the lats that you can bias have 2 different joint functions. One being shoulder adduction, which I'm doing right here to hit the lower lats, and shoulder extension, which I'm performing my next exercise, which hits the upper lats. And the exact same thing applies for every single muscle group. What did I just do with my chest? And what are you doing? You're performing mid-chest exercises, upper chest exercises, because they both have 2 different joint functions, just like the fucking lats. So let me fucking bias my lats, okay? And this is especially evident as I haven't done any wide grip pulls for essentially my whole lifting career besides this year, and no surprise, my upper lats are extremely developed due to spamming narrow grip stuff, while my lower lats are essentially non-existent, as I've never performed wide grip pulls. As you can see, I'm performing assisted pull-ups instead of bodyweight or weighted, not because I cannot do weighted, but simply because the assisted pull-up machine is fucking underrated, as it gives you much more stability, which is better for muscle growth. It gives you stability at the handle and also at the bottom where your knees rest, which is very important as lat training is very delicate. You have to be really precise with your movement to hit the lats effectively, which sometimes gets very hard if you're progressively overloading your weighted pull-ups. As for me, my form gets a bit wobbly if I progressively overload my pull-ups, which is the reason why I have regressed to assisted pull-ups to integrate that strict up and down motion to get back to weighted pull-ups and be more proficient at it. I would highly recommend you to just try the assisted pull-up machine yourself. You are never too good for it, even if you can do 20 or 40 kilos plus on a weighted pull-up, especially if you're using an ultra wide grip, which makes the exercise much fucking harder. As I said, the lats are a main priority, which means that I want maximum possible growth, which I'm achieving by adding another lat movement in the sagittal plane, which challenges the upper lat via shoulder extension. So in this workout, I've ticked off 2 muscle functions of the lats, which means that I will grow them maximally. What I've done for the chest and back is exactly how you prioritize the muscle. You put it at the very start or very near the session, and you split the volume that you do for the muscle, for me now 2 sets, into 2 different exercises which cover the muscle function of the muscle. Now, if you have a very simple muscle like the calves, you can just perform 1 exercise for 2 sets, as you simply cannot do a lot of shit with the calves. The reason why biasing a specific muscle region in every single workout is important, especially on a high frequency split, is because higher frequencies is muscle region dependent, which means that if you would do a mid-chest or lower lat exercise on one day and an upper chest and upper lat exercise on another day, you would essentially not benefit from the higher frequency, as you're not training that specific muscle region with that high frequency. You may grow everything equally with the setup if you're a beginner or an intermediate lifter, but if you're more on the advanced side, you need to reach those higher threshold motor units for every single muscle fiber which will be only possible by biasing every single individual muscle region in every single workout. By the way, if this all sounds very complicated to you and you don't know how to apply this to your own training to achieve that golden hour look yourself, just make sure to check out my one-to-one online coaching in the description and comments down below, and watch this video right here where I explain to you all the benefits that you will be getting. Now let's continue with the video. Now we are finally coming to the arm portion of the workout. As I've said in the intro of this video and in my last video, the arms are the most important factor for that golden physique besides the chest. But my arms are much stronger than my chest and back, which means that I've put them a little bit on a back burner as they don't need a lot of attention right now. But that may be the complete opposite for you. And within the arm department, my triceps are so much stronger than my biceps, which means that I'm starting with biceps. For the biceps, the absolute undisputed best exercise of all time, no fucking debate, is the preacher curl. It is lengthen biased, which is important for biceps training as the biceps have greater leverage than the other elbow flexors, the brachialis and the brachioradialis, in that lengthened position. If you don't have a machine that is lengthen biased, but it's harder at the top than the bottom, just use a free weight preacher curl with a shallow incline. Besides the benefit of the optimal resistance profile, the other and most obvious benefit is that it's the most stable and most anti-cheat friendly curl variation, which means that you can get the best, most isolated stimulus for the biceps possible. So besides optimizing your exercise order and exercise selection, if you want to prioritize the muscle, you may want to consider performing unilateral exercise instead of bilateral exercises if you want to actually grow a muscle as maximally as possible, as unilateral exercises give you a better stimulus on a set per set basis due to the increased muscle activation levels by just performing an exercise on one side at a time. That is simply because of the bilateral deficit, which simply means that you will not get the most activation levels out of your muscle if you perform both sides at the same time, as your body or our body is not designed in that way. For better context, if you look at nature, we run with one leg at a time and we throw things and do things with one arm at a time, most likely. So if you want to eke out every single bit of gains for the arms or for every single muscle group, which is important to build that golden physique, you want to consider unilateral exercises. Now let's come to building the most important part of the arm, which is the long end of the triceps. You can maximally bias and grow the long end of the triceps by simply performing a pure elbow extension with your arms fixed beside your body, just like in the single arm pushdown that I'm showing right here. Maybe you've noticed the pattern of my exercises, but I'm performing very low reps with heavy weights in the 4 to 8 rep range. And yes, even on isolation movements. That is simply because of the stimulating reps model, which states that the last 5 reps of a given set give you the most important stimulus. And if you perform anything above those 5 reps, you're essentially accumulating unnecessary junk volume. A set of 30 versus 5 reps gives you almost the same stimulus, with the preference being on the 5 rep side, as lower rep ranges and heavier weights give you much less muscle damage and fatigue compared to high reps. Just compare a 20 rep squat to a 4 rep squat and you will notice the difference. So even if technically every single rep range is the same for muscle growth, you want to really consider performing lower reps in the 4 to 8 rep range to not accumulate any unnecessary junk volume and to only get the most important reps in. If you don't like how it feels on a push down or a lateral raise, etc., stay in the 6 to 8 or even 10 rep range, and on compounds you will notice that 4 to 6 reps it's very natural. Meaty fucking forearms are massively important for that golden era look, so you want to forearm max your physique by doing a reverse grip curl, as this biases the medius part of the forearms, the brachioradialis. This completely pronated grip somewhat disadvantages the biceps, so if you want to have a forearm and biceps combination exercise, you can just perform standard hammer curls. Coming back to the triceps, you need to know that for the triceps you need 2 different motions. One exercise where you're performing pure elbow extension with your arms fixed beside your body, and one exercise where you're doing elbow extension with your arms moving. This triceps pressing motion disadvantages and essentially shuts down the long end of the triceps from doing any work, which means that the lateral and medial head have to perform more of the work, essentially giving them more stimulus. And you can enhance the stimulus by using a reverse band, as it's shown in the video with the reverse banded Smith machine jam press, as the lateral and medial head have the best leverage to produce force in the shortened position, which we are overloading via the reverse band. Coming back to the forearm with some more isolated work, again we almost want to match the size of the forearm with the upper arm. Besides the reverse grip curl, all you need to do to develop the forearms maximally is most importantly a wrist flexion movement, and less important and not even necessary if you don't want to maximize your forearm growth, a wrist extension exercise. You can literally perform any variation you like, dumbbells, barbells, cables, it does not fucking matter. Just make sure that it's a stable setup. Following up as a fucking 10th exercise, we are finally performing a lateral raise. As I've explained in the golden era video, you don't want to have delts which completely overpower the rest of your body and especially your arms, as this creates weird proportions and completely destroys your symmetry of the physique, which is the reason why I'm mostly prioritizing my arms and torso over the side delts, which is the complete opposite of what everybody else is doing nowadays. But the rest, be assured, they will still grow massively and not look like complete shit, as you're still training with a high frequency if you're performing a full body split, or what I'll be showing you at the end of the video. Again, they will just proportionally grow smaller than the rest of the upper body if you perform them later in the workout, which is exactly what we want. And that is the only shoulder exercise that I do. I don't isolate my rear delts or front delts, as again, they're not important for that golden era look, and they're getting indirect stimulus with the other exercise that I performed. The front delts get indirect stimulus via the upper chest fly, and the rear delts get indirect stimulus via the sagittal plane or narrow grip row. Next up, we have a weird looking old school exercise, which is the Jefferson curl. Despite putting it late in the workout, I want to spinal erector max my physique, which is very important for that thick back look, which is the reason why I'm performing a Jefferson curl instead of a deadlift, as I can perform a Jefferson curl every single session, every other day on a full body split, as it has a very good stimulus to fatigue ratio, as I'm performing the actual joint function of the muscle, which reduces the weight significantly compared to a stiff leg deadlift, where I'm isometrically holding the contraction. And as you can imagine, if you can pull a lot of weight off the floor, you will not be able to perform a stiff leg deadlift every other session. That would fucking kill you. And as we know, you have to train a muscle every single session on full body split to actually benefit from the higher frequency. That is the reason why I'm performing a Jefferson curl. It also builds massive resiliency and longevity for the surrounding muscles and for the spine itself. My back always feels much better on a run of Jefferson curls compared to a heavy deadlift. So you could call it functional training, could you? I also don't want to be loading up a bunch of plates for just one set of a stiff leg deadlift on a full body split. I would rather kill myself than that. Next up, we are hitting the upper traps, which are very important for the golden era look, but they're a strong point, which is the reason why I've put them so late in my workout again. And we are performing the GOAT exercise of upper back gains, which is the kettle shrugs. It isolates the function of the mid traps, which is scapular retraction, and it doesn't involve the arms or the rear delts like in the standard row, which means that we can get more targeted stimulus for the traps. And contrary to popular belief, the middle traps is what actually gives you that bull look from the front or from the back, and not the upper traps. The upper traps are responsible for just a little bit meat on the front, but the mid chest is where the money is at. So trust me, try the kettle shrug and your traps will be cooked. Next up, we have an ab crunch machine, as the abs are not made in the kitchen. I once cut down to 8 to 10% body fat and I had zero ab definition. So train your abs just like any other muscle, train them heavy, train them with progressive overload in mind, and actually perform the function of the muscle, which is spinal flexion and extension, instead of just isometrically doing a fucking sit-up. One of the most underrated muscle groups, the calves. They are so fucking important and should be prioritized by every single one of you if you want to actually achieve that golden era look yourself. And no, the calves are not genetic. You want to actually, again, train them heavy, train them with progressive overload in mind, instead of just doing some stupid shit. And you actually have to train them consistently. You have to show up every single day and do your fucking calf raises, and not just at the very end of the session. You have to shut the fuck up if you have not put your calves at the very start of the session for years on end before you tell me that calves are genetic. But you have to make sure that you're picking a straight leg calf raise instead of a bent knee calf raise, as in a bent knee calf raise, you're only training the soleus, which is underneath the gastroc. The gastroc, the medius part of the calves, which you can actually see, is disadvantage in a bent knee calf raise and advantage in a straight leg calf raise, which simply means that you want to perform a straight leg calf raise variation. And make sure to perform bottom lengthen partials and pause for 2 to 3 seconds in a stretch position, as the calves actually benefit from stretch medial hypertrophy, so we want to spend more time in a stretch position, and pause to take out the elasticity from the Achilles tendon, which is the strongest tendon in your body, so you can solely focus on the calf doing the work, and of course to enhance the stretch even more. After this brutal upper body beating that we are performing every other day, we are finally coming to the leg portion of the workout. So I'm always starting with a hamstring curl before a squat pattern or a quad movement to warm up the knees, and because the hamstrings are most of the time lacking compared to the quads. You can honestly perform any type of hamstring curl, just pick the one that feels the best for you. For the quads, I'm currently only performing leg extensions and no squats, as my quads are a strong point and I've gotten a bit lazy with my leg training. So if you're on the same stance that your quads do look good, but you don't want them to be completely overpowering your rest of the body, like this is the case for me, you can absolutely get away with just a few sets of leg extensions or just one set of leg extensions at the very end of a full body session. And the leg extension is the most important exercise for the quads, as it's the only exercise that hits the rectus femoris, which is the middle quad muscle, which gives you quads that sexy ass split. So yes, you can absolutely get away with only leg extensions without doing any squats. But what I recommend is, if you want to grow your quads decently, or if you don't have the right genetics to get away with only leg extensions, no. So please apply this to your own body and don't accuse me of you ending up with chicken legs, okay? As you've noticed, this program is essentially an upper split. It is just a modification of a full body split. I'm absolutely blasting my upper body with a billion exercises, but just performing 2 exercises for my lower body, 3 if you include calves. What the fuck is that, bro? Please don't just copy me. This split is tailored to me and my goals. Of course, you too want to achieve a golden era physique, but if your quads are lacking, you may need to again include a squat variation. But besides that, how do you actually modify my program right here to suit your specific needs to build that golden era physique yourself? As I've said a bunch of times in this video already, you simply want to change the exercise order. If your arms are lacking, put that shit at the very start of the workout. If your chest is lacking, put that shit at the very start of the workout. As simple as that. You may even want to write down every single muscle group in your fucking body in the order of importance and simply structure your workout that way. It could look as strange as starting with a chest exercise, then doing abs, then arms, then legs, then back, whatever the fuck. Just look at what you need to grow to achieve that golden era look yourself. And if you don't want to train with a full body split, despite it being the most optimal way to train, I completely understand you. You simply want to train more often, you don't want to take as many rest days, or you don't have the time for this monster session, you can simply split my full body workout into 2 different sessions. A push full body workout and a pull full body workout. With this split, you can still benefit from the high frequency. Just make sure to perform a little bit more sets, as you have more recovery room between each workout session. So you have to perform 2 to 4 sets per muscle group per workout. For higher priority muscle groups, for the torso and arms, stick on the upper end, while on the less priority muscle groups, like the legs, stick on the lower end. And if you still don't know how to actually program the shit that I just told you, just make sure to check out my one-to-one online coaching service in the description and comments down below, and watch this video right here to know what it is all about.